5 Live Boxing.
It's weigh-in day here in Saudi Arabia. Everybody's here. Tommy Fury, Jake Paul, the biggest 8-round fight in history, the highest grossing 8-round fight in history. It's an event, and there are an awful lot of people that have turned out. I'm Steve Bunce, and this is 5 Live Boxing from Saudi Arabia. So I'm in the diplomatic section of Riyadh, and it's a massive place called the Hittin Palace. It's 40-odd bedrooms. It's got a grand swimming pool that goes 100 metres by 40 metres. Opulent grounds. But it's been deserted for 10 years, and there's still 52 staff working here. Now, I'm sort of outside. I'm sort of towards the edge. I'm going to make my way down an extraordinarily long corridor, make my way towards the area out the back where the actual weigh-in's going to take place, because I need to speak to, if I can, I need to get hold of George Warren, the promoter. As I'm making my way through, there are people everywhere. There's red carpet, there's pictures, there's all sorts of wandering security. And the swimming pool is absolutely enormous. I mean, it really is 100 metres long by 50 metres wide with seats in the middle of it. This is opulent, it really is. Well, that's what I'd expect. I can see George Warren from Queensbury, Tommy Fury's promoter and co-promoter of this fight. George, if I could just grab a few seconds of your time. George, what an event, and also what a location. What a celebration.
It's amazing,
what
isn't
a place.
It's stunning. They do everything. They don't do anything by half measures out here. Certainly
but this
not.
might be half measures by their standards.
Well,
we don't know.
You don't know what they're building to. But look, they've obviously got it within their remit under the Vision Saudi 2030. Building boxing's part of that remit. So it's great. It's great to be here. It's great for the fighters. They're getting paid a lot of money, and I'm expecting a good event.
We're all expecting a good event. Now, I don't know, since you've arrived, if you've spent any time with Tommy, and if you have, how did you find him? Because I'll let you know, I saw him on Thursday, so 48 hours ago, and I've never seen him so focused. He was transformed into a guy who's actually in a massive event like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I got in very late last night. Other business matters that we're dealing with back home that held me up from being able to travel early. But all the reports are that he's in a very good place. He's comfortable. Feels like he's making weight very easily. I think he looked very strong at the press conference. I watched that online. I think he looked great.
He looked relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he knows what he's got to do. I think he knows that he's the one with the far superior pedigree when it comes to boxing. He's had that amateur experience. He's the one that is the pro boxer, not the YouTuber turning professional
Disney
fighter.
boy.
Exactly. And that's not to be disingenuous to Jake.
No,
he's a serious
that's what
athlete.
He is.
Exactly. He's a serious athlete. He obviously has got high aspirations in this, and that's what we keep saying. It's going to come down to whether or not Jake is what he believes he is, or is Tommy what he believes he is. And I think Tommy is.
Now, George, I've done stuff across various BBC networks, Radio 4, 5 Live, World Service, different branches of television. And people keep asking me, Steve, is this a real fight? Well, not only is it a real fight, I'll put it to you, George, that it's an odd fight because we've got two unbeaten 6 and 8 prospects. And I've got to tell you, we don't match 6 and 8 prospects unbeaten against each other in the real world. So it can only take place in this world.
It's exactly right. I think I said this when we announced it on the Yard Baturbiev event. After the fight on BT Sport, when we were talking about it, is if this fight was on the undercard of that fight that night, everyone would say, what a great fight, what a great 50-50 fight. It just so happens that they've both got huge profiles. They're both, famous. They both are very good at taking advantage of social media and digital tools to exploit their fame. And at the end of the day, there is interest in the fight. Interest like unparalleled to a number of events even, let's be honest, Steve, where you're talking about the elite guys fighting each other. I'm seeing more traction in this fight than some big world title fights we've done in the past. So hats off to them.
Well, one of the PR companies that do the stuff out here for the Saudi for Skills Challenge Entertainment, that's one of the organisations that's heavily involved. They've produced some figures which say that, as you say, this is not like more people are calling me up and I'm seeing some action on Twitter. They're producing stats and figures saying this is doing more business than this fight and more business than that fight. And the fights we're talking about, I don't want to name them because it'd be a bit of name and shame. These are vast fights, and this is kicking them.
Yeah, listen, they know what they're doing. They're not here investing in sport and boxing because of anything other than they see that it's got value, and it's obviously bringing something to the kingdom that they like. I mean, I attended the press conference a couple of weeks back here, and the Ministry of Sport and Ski, they were talking about the demographic out here. They're a young age demographic. I think it's nearly 60-70% under 35. Yeah. They're all on social media. They know who these guys are, and these guys are taking advantage of it and going to do, have a tremendous night. Hopefully Tommy gets the win, but at the end of the day, they're going to make a lot of money from the fight because they've built up these insane record. They're so well known that people want to see them fight, and that's it.
And here, I'm going to say this finally, here's to many, many more.
I hope so.
Absolutely. George, thanks very much, son.
Good to see you.
Let's get going to the weigh-in for the featured bout of the evening. On the line, a special WBC commemorative Deria WBC Championship belt. 8 rounds of boxing in the cruiserweight division. Coming up to the scales first, fighting out of Manchester, England. His professional record, a perfect one. 8 fights, 8 victories, 4 big wins by knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the undefeated Tommy TNT Fury.
So that's Michael Buffer there. We're outside in the sun, obviously, it's Saudi. The stage is now filling up with Tommy Fury's people. There's Gypsy John, his father. There's the security. They're wearing traditional Saudi headgear. There's Tyson Fury, his brother. It's for Tommy, relaxed, composed, obviously in great shape, and you'd expect, what else would you expect? A decent crowd here, but an even more impressive venue. Tommy on the scales.
185 contracted. 184.54, the undefeated Tommy TNT Fury.
So in a match made at 185 pounds, Tommy Fury has come in 1 pound inside that limit at 184. That is 5 pounds lighter than his heaviest ever fight, but also 7 pounds more than he weighed in his last fight in April of last year. I'll let you into a little secret, shall I? As fun as this is, with the Saudi anthem and a packed stage and loads of people wearing an awful lot of traditional clothing, there was the official weigh-in behind closed doors about 5 hours ago.
Training and fighting out of Dorado, Puerto Rico. His record, like his opponent, also a perfect one. 6 fights, 6 victories, 4 big wins by knockout. He is the undefeated Jake, the Problem Child.
So Jake Paul entering. He's been backstage for an hour now with his brother Logan Paul, who flew in from Australia. However, Logan's baggage didn't arrive. That's the type of detail I'm sharing with you today. BJ Flores, the trainer, former challenger for the World Cruiserweight title himself, stopped by Tony Bellew several years ago. Jake Paul now stripping down to his shorts, not bothering to take his tracksuit bottom off. He's on the scale now.
Jake Paul.
I feel good sometimes I don't.
183.6, 183.6 for the Problem Child, Jake Paul.
So Jake Paul there, 3 pounds lighter than his last fight and a full 8 pounds lighter than his heaviest ever weight, inside the weight limit. But as I say, like all boxing at the moment, no matter what level it is, there's always a check weigh-in earlier behind closed doors. This fight was made at 185 pounds, and they both made that weight comfortably, both with a check weigh-in and today at the show weigh-in. Right now on the stage, it's a packed stage. There's Tyson Fury, there's Jake Paul, there's Logan Paul, there's Derek Del Boy Chisora, known as the Sheikh, Gypsy Johnny Fury, shouting at Tommy. Tommy and Jake Paul, they are actually nose to nose. They're swearing, hands on each other, pushing each other. They're very close. Jake Paul shouting at him, Tommy shouting back. It's getting ugly. They're now being separated. They're being separated. A push there from Tommy Fury. Jake Paul's pushed back. Various security have got involved. A very lively combat. Gypsy Johnny Fury pleading to the crowd. It's easy work, he's shouting. It's easy work, he's shouting. Tommy and Jake, there may be one more face-off. Let's have a look. There may be one more civilized face-off. Let's have a look.
In the cruiserweight division and on the line, the new prestigious commemorative Daria WBC Championship belt. Undefeated versus undefeated.
Gypsy Johnny Fury being kept apart from BJ Flores, his counterpart, the training men. Sure, it's pantomime. Sure, it's the circus. Sure, it's the carnival. That's why millions of people will tune in and watch this and listen to this around the globe. It is doing, and it's quite amazing, unprecedented business. They're leaving the stage now.
We are with the undefeated Tommy TNT Fury. Tommy, the way in the face-off, obviously high tensions as you head into tomorrow night here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. What are your emotions like after that intense face-off?
First things first, I want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Prince Khalid. You've treated us like kings. Thank you so much for having us. His time is up. Tomorrow night, his time is up. Jake Paul will no longer be boxing. I'm going to put this man away inside 4 rounds.
In your estimation, you've been here for close to 10 days here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. What has this experience been like for you?
It's been the best experience of my life. A little kid out of Manchester, headlining Saudi Arabia. It's a dream come true. And tomorrow night, it gets all the more sweeter.
How much do you carry? Your family name, the Fury name, is boxing royalty. How much do you carry that into the ring as you collide against Jake Paul tomorrow on pay-per-view?
Tomorrow night, you're going to see why our last name's Fury. Because we're the best at fighting to ever live. That's the reason why.
And finally, how's it going down tomorrow night against Jake Paul?
Knockout.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the undefeated Tommy TNT Fury. All right, now we are with the problem child, Jake Paul. Jake, he's predicting a knockout. What is your response to his prediction tomorrow night?
That man's capping. He's acting on stage, getting all hyped up, trying to act like his brother. And all you people booing, y'all dumb as too. This professional boxer is going down, man. It's easy, it's simple. I'm ready, calm, cool, collected, and this is what I do. He's never been in a moment like that. He's shaking. He's up on stage doing the interview like this. You can see his nerves running through his system. He can't stop moving. I'm chill. I'm a real killer. This is how I do it. This is how I do it. From Ohio, from Cleveland. Real dog. None of that fake shit.
This is just your 7th professional fight. Did you ever envision that you would be headlining a pay-per-view, a global event here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
100%, man. This is destiny. This is destiny, simple and plain. Biggest in the business. We do the biggest shows and we knock people out. That's what I'm bringing tomorrow, and y'all are gonna see that. And then we're gonna come back and do another show here in Saudi. Bet on that.
You have said 4 rounds or under is when the fight will end. Are you sticking with that prediction?
100%, and like the posters say, the talk is over. We've done all the the hoopla, but it's time to figure out the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the problem child, Jake Paul.
So that was the weigh-in. We've heard from both the fighters. I'm now backstage slightly, and I'm with a very old friend of mine, Gypsy Johnny Fury, father of Tommy, and it's all about Tommy. John, you were up there, you were close, you were enjoying it. You seem to be enjoying this as much as the boxers.
Oh, I love it. Moment of truth, Steve. Moment of truth. It's feeding time for Tommy.
And feeding time for Tommy. And we've done interviews over the last 3 years, and you've always looked me in the eye and said, Steve, this is easy work. You still feel that way, John?
I feel that way. I've never felt any other way. I've never been as confident in my life. I've looked in that kid's eyes today, and I've looked in 1,000 men's eyes before today. That kid don't want to fight. It'll be over early. And early doors.
No, John, I've been around you as you've worked with Tommy over the last 3 or 4 years, and I've seen a transformation in Tommy. He doesn't look like Tommy. He's different. His body's different. His head's different. He's so focused.
Listen, focused. 9 weeks in a camp, Spartan, running, training, eating, sleeping, drinking, repeat. He's had the hardest sparring possible. 1 man in, 1 man out. He's been to hell and back. And look at the shape he's in, look at the mindset he's in. I've trained his mind, trained his body. You can see he's ready to go.
John, there's no chance of him thinking it's too easy, is there, John?
Not at all.
Not at all. You're going to pull him back.
I'm in that corner, and on the night, it's going to be educated, clinical pressure, brains over brawn, power shots from the off, and that kid can't take it.
And John, will it be an absolute pleasure and delight to actually be in the corner, to be part of it, to be part of this history here in Saudi?
Well, listen, it's a dream come true too for me. I've met Mike Tyson, a man who I've named my son after. It don't get any better than what it is in Saudi. And I want to thank the powers that be in Saudi, all the princes, everybody, Skill Challenge. They've done an amazing job, and it's the biggest event in the world, only because what the Saudis have done and the powers to make this fight.
And John,
the Pauls.
John, finally, one more question. I know other people want you. Tell me about that meeting with Mike, because that was the first time you've been with Mike Tyson. That's the first chance you had to talk to him. What happened?
Well, listen, we sat there. We had a podcast we did. We shook hands earlier on. An amazing guy. I could talk to Mike for 2 weeks without stopping.
I bet you could.
But you know what? I hope we can link up later on in the year or something, whenever all the dust has settled, and go round the ground I've been living for 35 years. Pleasure meeting Mike Tyson, a great champion, an ambassador to boxing. That's what he is.
John, what a pleasure to talk to
Pleasure
you.
to you, Steve, as well.
Thanks, John.
My old friend.
Thanks,
There you
John.
go.
Thank you so much. So that's big, John. I've just walked away to Jimmy Hamilton, one of the crucial, actually manager of Tommy Fury.
Yeah.
The manager. Jim, let me ask you this first of all. Now, we know Tommy's come from a bit of a different world. But in your heart of hearts, and you're an honest man, did you really imagine we'd ever be here? In an event like this,
100%,
as big as this is,
Steve. I also manage Roman, his brother. What the overall goal is, and not many people know this apart from the tight-knit team, is Logan against Roman, Jake against Tommy in a rematch.
So that would be a massive night.
That'd be a massive
back in
night.
Saudi, Jim.
Back wherever, whichever pays the most money, Steve, to them boys, because they deserve it more than anybody.
Now, let me ask you this. I've been around Tommy when he's fought guys that he can't lose to, and I mean that nicely. That's
Yes.
the business we're in.
Of course it is.
Has he changed? Is he more focused and fearsome? Still big Gypsy John's over in the background, Jim. Tell me.
100%. He's been, for the last 2.5 years, he's had nothing but this man in his thoughts, in his eyesight, in his line of fire. And on Sunday evening, you're going to see a destruction job by TNT Tommy Fury.
Jimmy, I told you I'd do you, son. You thought I was kidding.
Thank you very
gotcha.
much.
Now let me rush out on my movements. Jimmy, thank you.
All the best. God bless,
Thanks,
Steve.
son. Thank
See
you
you
very
soon.
much. Brilliant. Still in the background here, you can hear that's John Fury getting everybody hyped and psyched up. Tyson Fury's there. Jimmy's left to go and join the grab, and I've grabbed someone the other way, Joseph Parker. So first of all, you've been on a massive mission to get here, massive flights just to make this fight.
Yeah, listen, I arrived in yesterday. It took me over 22 hours to get here, but I'm here to support Tommy, and it's great to see everyone. Great to see everyone here.
Joe, I keep asking people, have they seen a transformation in Tommy in the last 6 months or year? Now, you've been in the gym a long time, training up in Morecambe. Have you seen that transformation?
I've seen the transformation, but I've seen him take this camp very, very seriously. And he's, credit to Tommy for knuckling down, putting in the work, eating clean, resting well, and he's in shape.
Now, I'm going to ask you this, Joe, and I've got to be a bit careful how I say it. This is a massively risky fight for both of them, because they've both got these enormous reputations away from boxing. Losing a fight, all fighters lose, or near enough all fighters lose, but they lose a lot more. The loser of this loses a lot more. You understand that, don't you?
Listen, this is a big chance and a big risk for both fighters, and whoever loses this fight, it's going to be downside for them. There's always going to be rebuild, but it's going to be very, very hard to come back.
Joe, thanks very much indeed. Joseph Parker, thank you.
Always.
Okay, so that's Jimmy Harrington, that's Tommy's manager, that's Gypsy John, that's his trainer and his father, and that's Joseph Parker, one of his training partners. This room is fever pitch, feverish. We're going to leave this room and see if we can grab hold of a few more people in different parts of this building.
Hello and welcome to Cammy's Football Shorts with Cammy and just Cammy, not me. Oh, thanks, mate. Anyway, each week he's bringing you more tales of his extraordinary life and career. He doesn't need me getting in the way.
My wife and I went to LA. She says to me, I want to do that tour bus round the stars' houses. He says, you probably won't know this guy. His name is Vinnie Jones. And I went, I know him. Think about it. Vinnie Jones.
These bonus episodes are available. Just search for Proper Football on BBC Sounds.
So now we're in Jake Paul's room. Logan Paul, his brother's here. BJ Flores, the trainer. That's the man I want to speak to, because no one's actually talked to BJ Flores yet. Everyone's talked to Jake, everyone's talked to all sorts of people. But I want to actually get a couple of minutes, if I can, with BJ. BJ, Steve Bunce, BBC. How are you? Yeah, good to see you. BJ, first of all, I know that you've been in some big fights, world title fights, but this is just, I mean, it's ridiculous. You've got to take a second to catch your breath with this fight.
I mean, there's a lot of, the WBC themselves, they called it a very big event, a very big fight. They brought in their top referees, top judges. They're taking it very seriously. And, obviously you got the Fury name involved. You got Jake Paul's name, both very big. And, you bring all that energy together, it's going to be a big event.
And have you noticed that they're leaving, but I know you're going to catch them out. I'll leave it for a couple of minutes. Have you noticed a difference in Jake, maybe even a more serious approach from Jake?
No, he's
same Jake.
Same Jake. Yeah, he's been like this since we started, and his each camp's getting more and more professional, more and more better. So he's locked in. I mean, he's always taken Tommy serious, and he's going to show that tomorrow night.
Now, also, what's happened is people haven't taken Jake serious, even though I know you've had secret sparring partners out in Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah.
People just think he's this sort of playboy floating around doing nothing. That's not true, is it, BJ?
No.
He takes this business deadly seriously.
Ask Richard Rivera, ask Steve Cunningham, ask Chad Dawson, ask Jean Pascal, ask all the undefeated guys that I bring in to spar Richard Van Sicklen, all the guys that I bring in. Jake's a dog, and it is what it is. So we've learned Jake's taking some L's in the gym, and that's where we want to take him, though. That's where we learn. That's where we get better. But tomorrow night, Tommy's going to learn the hard way.
Yeah. And you were up there on the stage. Obviously, Gypsy John was getting in your face. That's part of his pantomime. That's
all right. Yeah,
exactly. You've had that before.
No problem.
I know that. But did you sense something? Did you have a look at Tommy? Because they're saying we looked in Jake's eyes. He was shaking. He didn't want it. What about? No, I don't exactly. But I had to tell you that.
Yeah, I can assure you that Jake doesn't have any worries about Tommy tomorrow. When the bell rings, he's going to go right to him, step right to him, and try to get him out of there. For Tommy, we'll see. I mean, I can't look at him and say I don't know him well enough to say that, but he better be ready tomorrow. Is all I got to say, because Jake's coming at him, and he's not stopping for 8 rounds. So he's going to have a long 24 minutes.
BJ, thank you so much for your time.
Problem,
It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
All right, guys.
Yeah, so I've just made my way outside now, where I'm going to try and find a little bit of peace and calm. And there's only one man involved with this beautiful, mad, chaotic carnival who can provide that. That was BJ Flores we just spoke to. Now I'm outside in the shade with Michael Buffer, who looks like he's been in an air-conditioned room for 3 hours and not standing out in the series. Now, first of all, Michael, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you. And see, the reason I've been staying in the shade, I saw you out there in the sun. Did
you see me burning up?
We are in the Middle East and in the desert, so,
What a fool, I know. That's a polite way of saying I'm a fool.
First of all, good to see you again.
Great to see you again. Michael, I've sat at ringside and watched you for 30-odd years, 35 years, from different arenas around the world. What we're building up to here, I'm putting down as one of my top 2 or 3 events. Not fights, but events. Do you get the same sort of feeling that we're witnessing a bit of, I want to introduce the word, crazy history here?
Yeah, it's something, different isn't always bad.
Absolutely.
And you remember 4 years ago when this started, the promoters and the purists, and I love the purists because I kind of I'm the same way with other sports like American baseball and that sort of thing from my childhood. But the purists are like, well, this isn't real. But it is what it is.
It is what it
with
is.
a following, with a fan base. And one of the things for me that makes a fight great and exciting is the way the crowd reacts. And we have a fan base here worldwide. They're going to be watching on television, most of them, because you can't really expect that fan base to come in here to Saudi Arabia. But it's like you said, you are putting it in one of the top categories, and you've been doing this for 4 decades.
I've got to put it there. I mean, I don't want to put it next to, I don't know, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield, or Lennox Lewis against X, Y, and Z. But I've got to, Michael.
Vladimir and AJ, with 80,000.
How about 50,000 indoors in Dusseldorf in the football stadium? Vladimir against Tyson. The shock. When I saw the look in your eyes at the end, because I know how close you were to the clinch. I've got to put it with those as an event. Michael, I'd love to talk all day about this event and Saudi, but we have a regular feature, you and I, twice a year.
All right.
Once every 8 months, where I just randomly ask you a Hollywood story. Now, you told us the last time on the BBC a Kirk Douglas story, which I loved. I've played that for hundreds of my friends. And as you left that day, you touched me on the arm and you said, Steve, I've got a Cary Grant story for the next time we talk. I know your car's here. Have you got a couple of minutes to tell that story?
Growing up, to me, Cary Grant was, that's movies. That's movie star stuff. and always known as the best dressed man in Hollywood, the best dressed actor in motion pictures. And I had just actually started out doing ring announcing, and this was in 1982. So in 1983, I get a phone call. A woman's voice with a British accent, says, "Michael Buffer, please." And I'm like, "What?" I said, "Who's calling?" And I've announced the number on her. She says, "Cary Grant calling." And I'm like, "Okay, now I know this is BS. It's one of my friends is going to get on the phone and imitate Cary Grant." So I decide I'll start first. So I say, "Hey, we'll put him on the phone." His voice comes on and says, "Hello, is this Michael Buffer?" And I think, wow, this is great.
He's good at doing this voice.
Whoever is doing the 80-year-old version of Cary Grant. This is really good. And so I do the Mr. Lucky version. "Hey, yes, what can I do for you?" He says, "You're doing me quite badly." And I stop and I think, maybe. So I said, "Okay, I'm sorry." We go on to talk. It's Cary Grant. He is a big fight fan. He was like the shape of a bow tie that I wore on one of the ESPN. And this is when ESPN was a fledgling network, 40 years ago. And at that time, I got all my tuxedos from a company in Philadelphia called After Six, and they gave me boxes of bow ties. And I ended up sending him like a whole box of bow ties from the company and everything. But the best thing was, after we went back and forth, they did that, and I was like embarrassed to death. So I apologized before we got off the phone. And I said, I just didn't believe it was you. I mean, who gets a call from, Cary Grant? He says, "I know, I can't even make dinner reservations." A great wrap-up line.
I didn't expect it.
We had kept in touch, and we're going to get together, and he passed away.
Oh.
And, it was a fight coming up in New York, and he was going to be there, and then he passed away in a hotel room in South Dakota, I think
So
it was.
it's Fury Paul, it's Saudi, but more than that, it's Michael Buffer in the shade, looking peerless as ever, unbelievable, telling a Cary Grant story. My trip to Saudi could just be complete, Michael. Thank you so much for your time.
So good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
We have to stop meeting every 2 years.
Yeah, I'll see you in July somewhere.
Right, cheers. Thank you.
Michael, so much thank you. So Michael Buffer's left me. He's walked off with his posse of security to his limo to go off to some glorious hotel and relax, no doubt. The fight being about 30 hours away. I needed that bit of serenity, and I needed that bit of old-style Los Angeles Hollywood glamour, because that's what he delivers, Buffer. He delivers more than just that peerless voice, more than just that look when he stands up straight. If Buffer's in town, if Buffer's involved, it's been big. Well, we've heard from just about every single person involved in this fight, and it's been an awful lot of fun today, as we knew it would be. It's also been hot. I've burnt my top of my head. That's understandable. That happens. It's a great event. I make no apologies for being so excited about it. It's a great 50-50 fight between two novices. More than that, it's just something that I want to see. There you go. I've said it. What a time it's been so far. The fight's on Sunday night. I'll be back with a pod early on Monday morning after the fight. But from the outskirts of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, from a massive empty mansion, I'm Steve Bunce, and this has been 5 Live Boxing from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Let's get ready to rumble!
5 Live Boxing.